Well, we are sorry that UNSMIS mandate is coming to an end. We believe that those members of the Council who insisted that the UNSMIS can continue did not really show commitment to ending hostilities and to working towards a political settlement in Syria. However, we are pleased with the letter which was sent to the Council by the Secretary General of the United Nations on August 10, expressing his intention to establish an effective and flexible UN presence in Damascus, which would help end hostilities and which would support negotiated, inclusive political dialogue. This is what the international community has committed to in UN Security Council resolutions and in the Geneva document of June 30. So we are looking forward to reformatting a UN presence in Damascus and in it doing the job it is supposed to do in the light of the need to stop violence and to start political process in Syria. Also in the light of this task, which again is reflected in Security Council resolutions which were adopted unanimously and a consensus Geneva document, Russia has proposed that members of the Action Group, along with Saudi Arabia and Iran, make a joint or parallel appeal to all the parties of the Syrian conflict that they end violence as soon as possible by a certain point in time, and that they appoint the authorized representatives in order to negotiate towards a political solution, and in particular towards the establishment of a transitional governing body as provided for in the Geneva document. And in order to discuss and hopefully agree on the modalities of that initiative, we are convening tomorrow here in New York a meeting of the Action Group at the level of permanent representatives of, to the United Nations, of members of the Action Group. So this is, please.
Sure. On this, in terms of Iran participating, the last time the meeting was in Geneva, it was understood that they didn't participate and that another P5 country said they wouldn't participate.
We are going to stick in the meeting to the format which was there in Geneva. But my intention is also to involve in that discussion in other formats ambassadors of Iran and Saudi Arabia. Please.
So what's the purpose of this meeting if the Security Council has failed so far to protect the Syrian people?
Well, the purpose of that meeting is to do what the international community is supposed to do under the Geneva document. And incidentally, this appeal is also reflected in Secretary General's letter on August 10. And this is to put in the weight of members of the Action Group, as they have assumed the obligation to do in the Geneva document, to call on all the parties to stop violence and also identify the specific time, moment, hour when that should happen, and also call on them by that time to appoint their authorized representatives, authorized to enter into dialogue about things which need to be done under the Geneva document, in particular the setting up of the transitional executive body. Please.
This is from outside the Security Council. Excuse me, this is outside from the Security Council.
Well, you know, we do have two formats now. It's not, outside or inside. This is the international community. It is with the participation of the United Nations and with a certain role of the Security Council that the Geneva Action Group was convened. It is an important tool in the hands of a special envoy of the Secretary General, and incidentally, we do hope that a replacement for Mr. Annan is going to be appointed very quickly and will start acting as soon as possible, as effectively and as vigorously as possible. So this is not a new format. This is a format which is there. This is a format, the Geneva Action Group, which resulted in an important consensus document which the international community should rely on. And in fact, it is the obligation. If we are talking about serious participants in a serious event, foreign ministers of countries, members of the Action Group, they agreed to certain things. So they need to do those things. And one of the things they agreed that they need to work towards establishing this transitional executive body. In order to do that, dialogue needs to be set in train. And in order to do that, the sides, we believe, need to stop fighting as soon as possible and need to appoint their authorized representatives. So I think if consequently it is supported by the Security Council, of course we'll be more than pleased. And we're sure that those issues will be discussed further on by the Security Council.
Ambassador,
Please.
what role will Western countries, big players, play in this action group, and what sort of obstacles do you anticipate in achieving what you said you
Well,
hope
we'll
to
have
achieve?
that. We'll have that meeting tomorrow. I hope they come. My colleagues, permanent representatives from all members of the action group, will come carrying in hand the Geneva document of June 30, to which the foreign ministers agreed by consensus, and then we'll see what can be done in order to have that document implemented in good faith. We make no secret of the fact that we think that some of the members of the action group have not done much, if anything at all, in order to implement this document. If we are wrong, then the meeting tomorrow would be a good opportunity for them to prove us wrong and to indicate that, in fact, they are serious about carrying out their commitments under the Geneva document.
I'm not sure that I understand what you mean when you talked about the inclusion of Iran and Iraq in other formats. Does that mean that tomorrow's meeting will include them or won't include them?
No, it's not. It's not our intention to change the format of the Geneva meeting. So we'll be inviting to the meeting tomorrow only those who participated in the meeting in Geneva. But we do believe, as I've been saying all along, in fact, as Kofi Annan was also saying when he first proposed that meeting in Geneva, that Saudi Arabia and Iran are important actors. So our hope and expectation is that if, for example, the action group agrees on a joint statement, then Saudi Arabia and Iran in their own way will be able to echo that joint statement and to impress it on all those who care to listen to them that it's time to stop fighting and to enter into political dialogue.
And just as a quick follow-up, do you have you already invited the participants from Geneva to this meeting, and have they accepted?
Well, it's not just to make sure there is no misunderstanding. We're inviting, to make it easy, we're inviting ambassadors to the United Nations. My colleague who hopefully are here, they are permanent representatives, so we are supposed to be here permanently, and we are, or our deputies. So we're inviting all of them to the meeting tomorrow, and I hope all of them will come up in good spirit.
But do you believe that the action group is united regarding the?
Well, the
regarding
action group adopted a consensus statement at the foreign minister level, and all members of the action group should show that they are serious about implementing it.
Where is the meeting taking place?
Somewhere
and
on the
what time?
premises of the United Nations. Well, it will be in the journal, 11 o'clock tomorrow. Пожалуйста. You want to ask? Не хотите? Хорошо. Any other questions? Please, please. Yes.
Mr. Ambassador, what do you see as the role of the six-point plan? Is it still relevant? Do you see any changes being made to it?
Well, I think it's very relevant. In the absence of modification, I think this is the plan which is there, which has been supported by the Security Council, and we should have it as our target, and the parties should have it as their target. Please.
Can you talk about your efforts to get a statement from the Council on the terrorist attacks in Syria?
Well, you know, there is some discussion, and in fact, I think the Secretariat believes that the attack yesterday was not targeting the United Nations personnel, but in Security Council resolutions, we did say specifically and by consensus that all parties should be mindful of the safety of UN peacekeepers. To me, blowing up a car or having an explosion in the street adjacent to the headquarters of members of UNSMIS is clearly something which is creating risks to their safety and well-being. And the fact that some members of the Security Council chose not to support a condemnation by the Security Council of that is not in line of that provision of Security Council resolutions. I hope we are more determined when such things happen, when United Nations staff and personnel are in danger of any sort, that the Security Council would not shy away from re-emphasizing the obligations of everybody to respect their safety.
Does it mean that Russia is now willing to act outside of the Security Council?
Well, as I say, we are not creating a new format. The action group is something which is clearly in the mainstream of international activities, and more importantly, for a political settlement. For a political settlement. This is precisely spelled out in the Geneva document and in a number of Security Council resolutions which were adopted unanimously. Incidentally, the fact that some drafts were not adopted. Does not mean that those resolutions which were adopted unanimously by the Council or were adopted by the Council do not exist. They do exist, and they speak about the need to stop violence and for dialogue and political settlement. Those who talk in terms of violent changes in Syria, of instigating more fighting, of instigating further militarization of the conflict, which the Secretary General has admonished us against in his latest letter, which Kofi Annan has been admonishing the international community against throughout his activities. They are the ones who are acting outside of the mainstream of the diplomatic effort to settle the conflict politically. The last question, please.
Annan's successor, what can the Security Council do to appoint a
well,
successor?
it's a decision which the Secretary General will have to make. We hope it's going to be a strong, objective candidate who will enjoy honest support from the international community, which has not always been the case with Kofi Annan. Thank you very much. Okay.
Of the Action Group, who chairs it? How does it run?
Well, the formalities are not important. We'll come together tomorrow and we'll have a discussion, I hope, and I hope it's going to be a productive discussion. Thank you.